Max, you're bringing your show to Liverpool in October. Just sort of tell us what it's all about. Tell us about Loophole.
So the show is called Loophole. It is a stand-up show, comedy show, storytelling show about all the times that I have kind of found loopholes, got into trouble because of loopholes with the YouTube videos that I make, which are all about silliness and basically answering questions that you have with mates down at your pub or after you've had a few pints.
So how did you stumble upon that? You had this ability to find loopholes. Obviously, with your journey, you started doing the street interviews, and then you pivoted to these like elaborate pranks. So how did you stumble upon this formula?
I just say it's kind of like slowly just increase every now and then. It's never been one particular moment, but I definitely have always looked at things a little differently. I remember I was at university and I realized that my desk in my room was the exact width of the elevator in my halls of residence. And so like 1 a.m, I didn't go on a night out and I just moved my entire desk into the lift with chair, plants, like laptop, posters. And so people would come back at like 2 a.m, and I'd be in the lift and I'd be like, what are you doing? Get out of my room. And so that's kind of like where things started. I've always been doing really silly stuff. And it was just wild that I now get to have a job that allows me to do that professionally. And so I'm now constantly on the lookout, and also people who watch the videos as well are sending me things, being like, have you seen this? Have you checked this out? So I can't take all the credit. It's definitely a lot from the viewers as well.
So do you think it's just like the way that you look at the world has always been like that? Like, were you like that as a child, or was it when you came to university then you started being a little bit more silly? Or
Absolutely. I mean, like, like kids always ask why, like why? And I guess I've just continued with that. Like, why can't I enter into the Mr. Universe bodybuilding competition? Why can't I get a presidential pardon for something that I did wrong as a kid? Like, I'm always asking why. And I guess, yeah, I have always been like that. That's definitely the case.
Yeah, so it's sort of staying in touch with your childhood almost and being able to sort of embrace that as a career now.
Absolutely.
And it has been for you, obviously, now you've pivoted to, now it's like almost a stand-up show. Like, I think people's journey stand-up is different, but like, a lot of times it's like, through the clubs and then to the larger venues, but you've had a alternative route. How's that been for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, you've got to make sure that you don't take the audience you've got for granted. Yes, like I might be able to put buns on seats or sell a couple of tickets, but you've got to make sure that when you're on stage, you're giving them a show that you know is the best it can be. And so I guess what's good is that I've been doing, like, I've been spending my time on stage by doing, I've done the Edinburgh Fringe a couple of times. I'm constantly doing like work in progress nights. So that time on stage, I'm trying to get as experienced as I can. But it is also such a different experience from making YouTube videos because the feedback is immediate. If you make a joke that doesn't land, it doesn't land. There is no hiding from that at all. It's not like someone can write in the comments, oh, I really enjoyed that, laugh out loud, and you didn't. Like, it's not funny. So it is, you've got to make sure you're absolutely bulletproof with your material, and that the story you're telling or the joke that you're telling is good. And also it's taught me a lot about how, like, often the material isn't necessarily the most important thing. Like, stage presence and craft and the way that you interact with the audience is just equally as important as the material you've got down the piece of paper. And I think people probably don't, like, if you gave a comedian some mediocre material, they could turn it into incredible stuff. And likewise, if you gave a mediocre comedian some incredible material, they probably wouldn't do it to the best of they wouldn't make the most of the material. So I'm trying as much as I can to get as much stage time as I can to make sure that I give the best show that I can.
Was the goal for you always to go to more traditional stand-up, or is this just something that sort of evolved naturally for you?
Probably something that's evolved more naturally. I kind of thought, right, I've got an audience here. I've always been a bit of a show off on stage. I used to be part of like the university theatre society, and I met an incredible guy who's my director called Ed. And we have been able to craft a show that kind of isn't necessarily traditional stand-up, but definitely is funny and comedic. But I've always just had dreams of playing like some of the venues that I'm now playing, which is awesome. Like watching the Live at the Apollo when I was a youngster on BBC and seeing those comedians do that, or the Palladium or whatever it is, has always been kind of a dream. So to be able to do that because of YouTube and because of the audience on YouTube is just like the best thing.
So in terms of the stand-up show, then, is it more of like a a concept style thing with like a thread rather than sort of more a traditional hour of stand up, really.
Absolutely. The show is called Loophole, and it is, as I said, about the loopholes that I found, but also it's me explaining a loophole that I have found that I don't think anybody else has clocked onto just yet. And I thought, right, I've got to write a show about this. So yeah, it's more narrative based, it's storytelling, it's funny, yeah, it uses the best. I use a screen as well, so it's kind of like a funny PowerPoint presentation essentially.
How much of an insight can you give us into this loophole, or is it just is that all you can say?
Gotta be like zip lips, unfortunately, Ryan. I can't say anything, but yeah, it's exciting.
Amazing. And the show is it's coming to Liverpool in October. Just sort of, have you performed in the city before? Sort of what's your experiences of visiting Liverpool?
I've not performed in Liverpool before, so I filmed a couple of videos in Liverpool, but I don't think I've ever performed in Liverpool before. So I am super excited to kind of meet the people of Liverpool and perform to them. I hear they're the best comedy crowds in the UK, so they know their comedy basically. So you've really got to make sure that you're bringing something that is good, because otherwise they will not appreciate it.
Yeah, I was going to be questions to say what are your expectations from a Liverpool crowd, because it's got this sort of thing of a comedy savvy audience.
Yeah, I mean, I spoke to a mate of mine who's a comedian. He was like, the thing with Liverpool is that you perform in Liverpool, and everyone in Liverpool like thinks they can be a comedian. So it's their opportunity as well, as much as yours, to be in an environment where they can show off how funny they are. And so you've got to be pretty strong to be able to make sure you weather any storms of heckling that go on.
Yeah, it's sort of about a live heckle that hits up closer to home than a YouTube comments as well.
And yeah, absolutely. But I've always said if heckles are funny, then they're great. Like, it's to the benefit of everyone in the audience. Like, I don't care if you laugh, whether that's because of me or because of somebody else. If it's for somebody else, that's great. I've done my work has been made much easier. Yeah, I mean, sometimes heckles can be great. Sometimes they can just slightly derail a show.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you had one so far that sort of stands out as like a good one, or?
Not really. I mean, my audience is very kind of like, they come from the YouTube world, so they're normally very polite, and I don't quite have the lads on the stag do at midnight who are thinking, right, go on then. So I haven't had any that have been too bad, or too good actually. I've had a few that are bad, but just like drunk people just shouting. But then that's just a drunk person shouting. It's not really a heckle, is it?
Yeah, I suppose that's the benefit of going to stand up in the way that you have, in terms of you fostered the community and then moved to stand up, rather than had to maybe do a club night one time.
Yeah, absolutely. And that kind of like is it's a bit of a blessing really, because everyone's very much on side when I step on stage, so I've got to make sure I keep them on side.
Yeah, I was watching some videos earlier, and one time when you did come to Liverpool and you're doing the Street Smart format. Yeah. Outside the Raz, and I just thought, how did you come up with that idea, and what was the thought process behind that?
Yeah, so that was God, that was years ago. That was in 2017, 2018, so 6-7 years ago. I knew I wanted to like make videos, and I enjoyed making videos. And I was at Newcastle University at the time, and there was a television society that was doing kind of street interviews with students on nights out. And I asked whether I could become a part of theirs, and they were like, no, sorry, we've got presenters already. So I kind of thought, well, screw it, I'll just do it myself. And so I started doing it in Newcastle, and then it grew a little bit. So I then was able to do it I then just took it on a tour. When I say tour, I literally just jumped in my car and just drove to different cities and interviewed students on nights out. Like, it wasn't exactly a tour. But yeah, that was a great place to really like learn my craft, and just constantly every night making a video and going to different places and trying to make comedy out of it. And it was constantly go. So yeah, I have fond memories of my time in Liverpool. I mean, it was a night out that wasn't a night. It was like a, I don't know, Tuesday night or Monday night, and none of the students were out. So we had to work really hard to find the people who wanted to chat. So yeah, it was very much a growing up experience in Liverpool.
Why do you think you did catch on YouTube? Because obviously it's such a congested marketplace, and like there was that format already, but your brand did take off. Like, do you remember the moment that like you did think, oh, I'm harnessing an audience now?
I mean, I've I've been making vids since 2017, and like it took me 3 years of just making vids before I really got anywhere. And so I would probably say there was a video I did with a mate of mine where we kind of snuck into London Fashion Week, and that was on his channel, and that kind of blew up. That went kind of very, very viral, and got like 40 million views. And I remember sitting there and seeing like the view counts and subscriber counts just go up and up and up, and thinking, oh God, there's something here. But that was like 2 years into my journey. And it's been a very slow, gradual like learning experience of, okay, understanding that doesn't work, that does work, why does that not work, why does that, and just being very honest with yourself as to, okay, right, I'm not very good at this part of things, but I am good at this, and sticking to that. But you're constantly evolving and changing. Like I started, as I said, like doing street interviews on nights out, and now I make kind of like 15-minute conceptual, silly like pranks. Like I had no concept that was the journey that was good, that was the path it was going to take, but it's just kind of slowly morphed that way.
Absolutely. I know you've got a list of all the pranks ideas and loads of concepts. I was wondering, is there any of those pranks that involve Liverpool at some point, or have you got, is there?
No, I mean at the moment, no. Although like Liverpool's by the docks, there's a few cruise ships that go out of Liverpool. I have always wanted to do a water ski behind the back of a cruise ship, but I'm not sure whether that's ever going to happen.
You can do that in the Mersey.
Yeah, down the Mersey, exactly.
Have you got any like a favourite memory from when you visited Liverpool, or even from just filming some content?
I mean, I loved learning. I don't know whether it's still there. It might have been a bit of an urban myth, but the Liverpool, the Everton stand who are called Everton 1, so yeah. Which is in Liverpool 2, Everton 1.
No, so it's Liverpool 1 and Everton have called their shop Everton 2.
Everton 2, that's it. I remember walking around and hearing about that and thinking that is the kind of housery that I absolutely love. And so I remember thinking that's exactly my kind of city that I want to be a part of. So yeah, that's just absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, that is a Max Fosh prank, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
And when you come to the city in October, do you think you'll have much downtime? Is there something that you're looking forward to exploring when you're here?
Absolutely. I think I've got a bus that's kind of ferrying me around the country, but I'm hopefully going to be able to kind of come out of my dungeon that is within the bus to explore the city. And I'm always meeting kind of people who watch the vids after, like whenever I do a show, and so I'll probably get some tips from Emma as to where to go. Although, unless Ryan, you've got a place yourself that you would recommend.
I can't think. I'm trying to think of a place that embodies your silly ethos that I think you'd enjoy. And I can only think of Everton 2, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. I'll just go to Everton 2. I'll just work behind the counter with Everton 2 and just have a chat.
You just got to go to the Everton club shop in town.
And that's great.
That's my only suggestion. Have you got, from your times doing like Vox Potter and interviews, that a particular like encounter or something like that stands out as that was quite like a funny one, or took you by surprise?
Yeah, I mean, there was a guy when I was first starting in Newcastle, like I used to go and stand on the same road, the same street, and there would be this busker called Gary. And Gary and I would, it was weird because Gary and I would both like clock into work at the same time at like 1 a.m. on this street. And Gary was hilarious because you wouldn't really know what mood Gary would be in when you saw him at the beginning of the night. Sometimes he'd be really up for it and up for a laugh, but sometimes he'd be super grumpy. And Gary famously hated playing Wonderwall by Oasis. And obviously when you're drunk and you pass a busker, the only thing you want them to play is Wonderwall. And so Gary through the night I would just watch him have to play it for the 20th time, and he would then start charging just more money. He'd be like, right, that's a tenner. Right, I'll do every other storm for free, but if you want one more, that's a tenner. And so I always wonder how Gary's doing and what he's up to now, kind of 7 years later. But I do hope he's well. Yeah,
maybe he's got a thriving YouTube channel as well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is when I find out that he's actually like James Bay, and like his music career just took off in a big way. But I hope he's selling out arenas and stadiums somewhere as old Gary.
Obviously, your pranks are quite high risk and quite the conceptual. Has there been a moment when like it's sort of you think it's all gone wrong?
We've had a few occasions like where I've been had a stern talking to by the police. But there's actually in the show Loophole, I tell a story of a time that I very nearly got in a lot of legal trouble with the London Aquarium, which was an interesting experience.
You
But
don't want to cross them.
normally normally it all gets sorted with just like a smile and apology and be like, I'm so sorry, I always beg for forgiveness rather than ask for permission, basically.
Do you think, is there ever nerves in terms of that you could like, because I think your pranks toe the line in terms of like it takes the risk but it doesn't really get anyone in trouble. Do you have any is that like a balancing act that you're quite conscious of?
Yeah, I'm so conscious of that. We're always talking about like punching up, punching down, like who's the victim here. We want to make it like the perfect prank is something that is a victimless prank, because I don't think people have the propensity to enjoy watching people kind of get dunked on anymore. That was kind of very Facebook 2015 kind of content. And so I want to make sure that whenever I'm doing something that nobody is going to get in trouble for what I'm doing, and no one's gonna lose the job. No one is going to get upset about it. So there is a lot of pre-thought that goes into that before I even start rolling the camera, because I want to make sure that every eventuality has kind of been thought of, because ultimately no one likes it when someone gets hurt or someone gets upset. So I try my hardest not to do that.